Erev Tov Rabotai, we are continuing with our Mishna Yomi, Masechet Ketubot. We are up to Perek Gimel Mishnah Chet. Today's Mishnah should be Leilun Nishmat Neria ben Svetlana Ranbayev, Eliyahu ben Burcha Israelo ben Chana bat Miriam, Menuchatam Megan Eden, Amen. And Avdi ben Chaim L'Chaim v'Refuah Shenamav Daniel Shalom ben Rosa, Betoch Shachol Israel. This Mishnah's rulings are based on the three stages in the life of a maturing girl. A girl is a ketana, a minor, from the day she is born until she grows 2 pubic hairs after she reaches the age of 12. For the next 6 months, she is a nara, a partial adult. Once the 6 months have passed, she becomes a bogeret, a full adult. The Mishnah contrasts the subject of our chapter, the fine that must be paid by one who violates or seduces a nara, with another law, that the father of a ketana has the right to sell her as a maidservant. This law is not applicable nowadays, as the commentaries discuss. The Mishnah begins, Kol makom sheyesh mecher and kinas, whenever a girl is subject to sale by her father, meaning as long as she is still a ketana, there is no fine for a violation or seduction, because the fine is not imposed in the case of a ketana. The Gemara on page 40b, Masechet Ketubot, cites a dispute between Tanaim about this. Our Mishnah follows Rabbi Meir, who holds that the fine for violation and seduction applies only in the case of a nara, but the sages rule that it applies even in the case of a ketana. V'chol makom sheyesh knas and mecher, and whenever a fine must be paid for a violation or seduction, when she is a nara, she is not subject to sale by her father, because a nara cannot be sold. The Mishnah elaborates, ketana yesh lah mecher v'naknas, a ketana is subject to sale but does not have the fine. Nara yesh lah knas v'la mecher, a nara is the fine but is not subject to sale. Habogeret en lo mecher v'lo knas, and a bogeret is not subject to sale because she is not a ketana and does not have the fine because she is not a ne'ara. And that is on the botai of Mishnah Chet. Now, beginning in Mishnah Tet, there are 2 types of monetary payments that a criminal might have to pay. Damages, such as compensation for injury, and fines, such as the 50 shekel payment imposed on the violator or seducer. The Mishnah points out one of the halachic differences between these 2 types of payments. The Mishnah begins, Haomer pititi et bito shel ploni. If one says, I seduced the daughter of so-and-so, but witnesses do not testify that he did, meshalem boshet upgam al pi atzmo, he pays based on his own admission for the shame that he caused her and for her reduction in value, veno meshalem knas, but he does not pay the fine of 50 shkalim. In order for a person to become obligated to pay damages, which include shame and reduction of value, his admission is enough. But in order to become obligated to pay a fine, his own admission does not count. Rather, the testimony of witnesses or similar proof is required. This rule, which is derived from the Torah, is often expressed as follows: Modeh b'knas patur. One who admits to a fine is exempt. Although the Mishnah mentions only seducer, its ruling applies to the violator as well. The Mishnah cites other examples in which a person's admission to a fine does not make him obligated to pay it. The first involves the fines that the Torah imposes on a thief. These include A, one who steals something must pay the owner double its value. The principal, the actual value of the stolen item, compensates the owner for his loss, and the additional payment is a fine. And B, the Torah imposes special fines on one who steals a sheep or ox and then slaughters or sells it. In the case of a sheep, he must pay 4 times its value, and in the case of the ox, he must pay 5 times its value. If one says, I stole a sheep or ox and I slaughtered it, or I stole a sheep and ox and I sold it, he pays the principal based on his own admission, but he does not pay the double payment or the 4-fold payment in the case of sheep, or the 5-fold payment in the case of an ox, because these additional payments are fines which are not payable on the basis of the thief's own admission. Now the next section of the Mishnah deals with one whose ox killed a person, animal, or a Canaanite slave. Hemit shuriat ploni, if someone says, my ox killed so-and-so, the Torah in Sefer Shemot, chapter 21, verses 29 through 31 state that if someone's ox kills a person, its owner is liable to death at the hands of heaven. In order to free himself from that punishment, he must pay a redemption fee, a kofel, to the heirs of the victim. Some say that the amount of the fee is the value of the ox's owner. Others say that it is the value of the victim. This is like Gemara Baba Kama, page 48. So again, Hey, meet Shoriat Ploni, if someone says my ox killed so-and-so, or Shorosh Shel Ploni, or my ox killed the ox of so-and-so, he pays the value of the person or the ox on the basis of his own admission, because these payments are not fines. Hey, meet Shoriat Avdo Shel Ploni, however, if someone says my ox killed the Canaanite slave of so-and-so, for which a payment of 30 shkalim is applicable, the Torah states over there in verse 32, that if someone's ox kills a Canaanite slave, the owner of the ox must pay a fine of 30 shkalim to the owner of the slave. And no mishalem al pi atzmo, he does not have to pay on the basis of his own admission, because this payment is a fine. The 30 shekel payment is a fine, as is evident from the fact that the amount is always the same, even if the slave is worth much less. The Mishnah concludes that this is the rule, this is the general rule. In every case where one must pay more than that which he damaged, or less than what he damaged, the payment is a fine, and so one does not pay on the basis of his own admission. And that is in Abotai of today's Mishna Yomi. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen v'amen.